Saludos! Welcome to Love Your Chichos. It's been a minute, so let's jump right in it. Today we're going to be talking about how I became a registered dietitian. If this is your first time on this channel, welcome. And make sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell to make sure that you're up to date on anything that I post. And if this is not your first time on this channel, welcome back. Thanks for joining. Today we're going to be talking about how I became a dietitian and the long road that it was to get me to be here as Zarigee, the Digital Dieta RD. So let's get into it. Hi, I'm Sariel, a bilingual registered dietitian, and if you want to be comadres, call me Zarigee. Welcome to Love Your Chichos, where we talk all things ditching la dieta, loving our chichos. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about how I became a dietitian. This is a question that is often asked to me whenever I have to speak at panels or whenever I'm talking to people or when they just are a little bit curious on what it is to be a dietitian and what it takes to be a dietitian. I also want to share some things that I learned along the way in terms of becoming a dietitian, as well as help folks understand what the requirements are to become a dietitian, because there is a difference between a dietitian and a nutritionist. To make this a little bit easier, I'll be breaking everything into sections so that you can skip around. But if you want to get cozy and listen to the whole thing in one sitting, come on, grab your tececito and let's get started. So when I'm thinking about how I became a dietitian, I want to break it down into three lessons learned, okay? And so the first lesson learned is to trust your gut. Long story short, I went to school to be a dentist. Being a first-generation American, you know the goal or the desire of our parents is to make sure that we find a job that is financially stable. One job that my dad really loved because of the flexibility and the income was a dentist. This is something that he wanted to do. And me, as the people pleaser that I was, and still kind of am, was like, oh yeah, I want to go to school to be a dentist. So I went to school to pursue a bachelor's degree in science and biology because I knew that that was the requirement, or at least the first step when it comes to applying for dentistry school. Meanwhile, I'm the first one to go to college in the family. I have no idea what I'm doing. But that's neither here nor there. So I'm in school and I'm taking all my classes and I'm doing really bad. And I'm like, what is going on? School is always so freaking easy for me. Why am I struggling now with these classes? I kept on with the pursuit of dentistry, taking all my requirements, making sure that I would pass, the minimum that I would get. I think the lowest grade I got was a D. And it was because I was struggling, and I wasn't even struggling and not taking it seriously. I was in there in office hours and tutoring sessions, and it just was not clicking. I remember the classes that were the easiest for me to understand or to do well in were things like sustainability or environmental sciences, things that were more theoretical and not so much sciencey. That's where I found, that I was doing better. And I think it's important to highlight this because when we're thinking of entering any field, whether it's dietetics or anything, you really need to be able to trust your gut and listen to the messages that it's telling you and what those messages are truly communicating. For me, looking back now, I think that it was telling me that this is not your field, baby girl. You need to get out of there and do something that is easy for you. And I say this because, yes, college is hard. College should be hard, but it shouldn't be so hard that you're doing the most and getting nothing in return. I feel like a subject that is really something that you're in an alignment to do, a subject that is your passion, a subject that is your thing, wouldn't be so freaking hard. Yes, you're going to study for your exams. Yes, they're going to be a little bit stressful, but you shouldn't be getting D's and C's putting in mad work. That's just my personal opinion. So if I were to go back and do everything over, I would have taken those earlier cues that something's not right as a sign for me to maybe think about something else to do. But I didn't. I was gung-ho on making sure that I was going to pass that or get that degree regardless. And so I graduated. I graduated with 2.67 GPA. I don't think I've ever told anybody that. At graduation, I felt so guilty because I knew my GPA was too low to go to dentistry school, but I didn't know how to communicate that with my parents. And I also didn't know how to communicate, like, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't really want to be a dentist. I took time off after my bachelor's to work for my parents for a little bit to see exactly what I was going to be doing. And that kind of leads me to my second lesson learned. The second thing that I feel like I learned in pursuing dietetics and learning how to become a registered dietitian is being curious. So while I took the time out of finishing my bachelor's to work for my parents, I then started looking around the area to see what were some activities that I could be doing. I know that this is a privilege, right? Not everyone has the opportunity to finish a bachelor's and then go and pursue a hobby and be supported by their parents the whole way. So I'm very lucky and fortunate that that was my reality, which allowed me to be curious, right? That those sacrifices that my parents made allowed me and gave me the space to be curious, even though they wanted me to get my shit together. But okay, so I then found a nonprofit in the area that focused on agriculture, and what they did was grow food and use that food that they grew to help alleviate food insecurity in the local area. I think I started doing that as an intern, right? So it was like a farm apprenticeship, something like that. And in there, I started getting, involved more with some of the support that they needed in-house, not just on the farm. By being curious on what was going on inside the farmhouse and not just on the field, I was able to eventually secure a full-time position there where I started to learn how to do things like nutrition education, nutrition curriculum development, presentation skills, speaking to all generations of people, really developed my communication, my public speaking skills, right? And in that workspace, in the opportunity that I had to explore and be curious about another field, I learned about a dietitian. My coworkers and other interns that would come across in the program would tell me about their journeys. They're in school to be in nutrition. And I'm like, that was just an elective. Like, how are you in school to be that one thing? So I got curious. I looked it up. I saw what the requirements were. Since I already had my bachelor's, everyone's like, yeah, you could just go into the master's program. But I was like, no, I can't. No one's going to accept me. No one is going to accept me in that GPA. But you know what? I'm like, okay, let's just try it out anyway. And I'm looking at the admissions board and I'm seeing a name that I had recognized. And this is my bonus tip. Use your network. You never know what your network can do to help you and support you, or just get you in doors and spaces that you didn't think you could get into. Just use it. Use it. You never know what can flourish from it. So I was looking in the admissions board or the admissions staffing, and I saw a name that I recognized. And back when I did my first bachelor's, I was in a sorority, and in that sorority, we had a sorority advisor or chapter advisor, something like that. It was basically an adult that would supervise what we were doing, check in on us, make sure that we weren't doing anything ridiculous that could cause damage to us or the brand of the sorority. I hope that's a great clarification of that title. But anyways, I saw that name. I'm like, oh my God, it's that lady that was our advisor. So I hit her up and I'm like, hey, I'm trying to get into the master's program, but my GPA is really low. Like, what do you think my options are? And what she did was like, yeah, your GPA is not going to let you get in here. But what I can do is have you speak with the undergrad department and see if that's a better fit so that you can complete your DPD requirements, which I didn't know what the hell that was at the time. And then you can get another bachelor's. It'll take you a little bit of time because you already did a bachelor in science. And then we'll see what happens from there. And I'm like, oh my God, if I'm going to tell my parents that I have to go back to school to get another bachelor's, they're going to lose it. But let's just give it a try. Applied to the undergrad program at the university. to enter the Bachelor's of Nutrition program with a DPD, with a dietetics concentration. Still not knowing what that means, but I'm like getting the hang of it. And basically, I got in miraculously and was able to start doing the courses to become a dietitian. Thankfully, like I had said, I completed a lot of the preliminary or the sciencey stuff. I did retake OrgoChem because there was an OrgoChem that was combined for nutrition that was easier than Orgo 1 and 2. And I was like, yes, if it'll help my GPA and I don't have to take 1 and 2, I'll gladly take it over. So I did that, and I finished that bachelor's in about 3 years, 2.5 years, I think it was. And then I had my bachelor's in dietetics, or in nutrition concentration dietetics. And throughout the whole time, like, I still didn't really understand what the process of becoming a dietitian was. I just knew I had to complete these courses, right? And throughout the whole curriculum, you know, there's a lot of professors talking about, like, it's really hard to get in, you might not match. And I'm like, how hard could it be to match? How hard could it be to match? Your girl didn't match. I think I applied 3 times total before matching. No, 2 times total before matching, with that little like fall matching in between. I did that too and I didn't match. But that one's like, you know, a little harder. Or like spring, whatever it is. I don't remember anymore. So I graduated with my second bachelor's in nutrition, didn't match to the DI, and was like, what am I about to do? And this leads me to my third lesson learned. Don't give up. I know it's so cliche. I know it's so like basic, but truly, when you're in this field, the barriers to enter this field are so hard, and it's really easy to give up and just do something else. And that's okay. If this is not for you, and if you don't have the resources, the time, the support to be able to continue on, don't. There's other things that you can do with your bachelor's in nutrition that are just as impactful in other capacities. But if this is something that you do really 100% want to do, don't give up. Give yourself grace. It takes a lot of freaking time. And know that you're not alone, right? This is a big undertaking, and it can feel like it's really lonely, but that's not the reality ever. There's great organizations like Diversified Dietetics that really does a great job of connecting, especially RDs and RDs to be of color, so that they do not feel alone. But know that you're never alone. But let's get back to my story of how I became a dietitian. Okay, so I didn't match after graduating, and I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do? I wasn't going to match. Like, that was the only plan. So I had 2 options. I could either go work for my parents again or find a job in the field. And I was like, I'm going to find a job in the field. No tea, no shade to my parents, but I wanted to, you know, I just worked so hard to get this degree. I want to put it to work. So that's where I landed in another nonprofit. This one was located in the city. And in there, I got to develop some more of the skills that I had developed in the farming nonprofit that I was at. I also met a lot of new people, got familiar with the city in ways that I hadn't before. You know, like go visit your family in the city and hang out after work in the city are 2 different things. But that's neither here nor there. I definitely worked really hard in that organization. And when I didn't match to the DI that time, I remember I was in the office and I was just crying. I was just crying. And everyone was like, just go home. Like, why are you here? Like, just take a break. You didn't match. Go home. And I'm like, okay, fine. I'll go home. Whatever. A couple weeks later, which I can talk about in a different video. Let me know if you guys will be interested in, like, the application process, what to do when you don't match, things like that. I'm happy to make another video. Just let me know. So I didn't match. I went home, emailed the directors from the programs that I applied to, like, any tips or whatever. And then I kind of was just like, all right, well, I'll just try again next time and I'll keep working. At that same time, I was going to be getting a promotion at my job anyway. So I'm like, more money, let's go, let's get it. The day of my meeting with my boss to talk about my promotion, I get an email. From a director from a program, and I was waitlisted. Number 1, baby. I was freaking number 1 on the wait list. So that means that somebody that did get accepted into the DI dropped out, and I was the first one on the list to be accepted. So your baby girl got matched to a program and was able to get in and start her DI journey. Again, don't give up. You never know how the cards are going to fall. You never know what is going to happen. You never know what the final outcome is going to be. If whatever you're doing is what you want to do, just do it. Don't give up. Put in the work. The universe will work it out for you if it's meant to be in your path at whatever time it deems appropriate for you, is how I feel. So I had this awkward meeting with my boss, like, oh, I'm about to leave, but let's talk about it anyway. That's a funny story that we laugh about to this day. And then I had to quickly gather my funds to be unemployed for 9 months. I had about 2 months notice to leave my job and also get ready to start the internship. The internship was an experience in and of itself. Happy to share a longer video or answer some questions on Instagram. Make sure that you follow me on Instagram at Love Your Chichos and TikTok. So I did the internship for 9 months, and then I'm like, okay, I have to study for this exam. Like, no one's talked about this exam other than it's hard. That's it. That's all we kind of know about the exam. And I'm like, all right, well, I suck at tests anyway, so how hard can it be? How hard can it be? I took the test 3 times. The first time I was heartbroken. And you know me, and if you don't know me, make sure that you follow, like, and subscribe to this video if you like this content so you could get to know me a little bit better. But if you know me, you know I was crying, and you know I'm going to post it because my emotions need to be out, and I know that in that raw vulnerability of myself, it helps others. So when I posted that clip or that picture of me crying, all these dietitians came out the woodwork talking about, oh yeah, the exam is so hard. I didn't pass the first time. Oh yeah, I didn't pass the first time. Keep going. And I'm looking at them like, why didn't you tell us that it was going to be so hard? Why didn't you communicate to baby RDs that the exam, you're not going to pass the first time, most likely? Takes the pressure off a little bit, right? So I'm like, oh, okay. Don't feel super bad. Yes, I wasted some money, but again, it's fine. Which leads to my other bonus tip. Save your money. Save some money during your DPD, especially as you get closer to becoming a dietitian, so that you can use that money to fund your life when you can't work for 9 months or 2 years, depending on the program that you're in. I, like I said, only had 2 months to save that money, and I did my best, but truthfully, my credit cards held it down. I'm still paying for that in some capacity, which really sucks, and I wouldn't wish that upon any other intern or any other professional entering any other professional field. But save your money as much as you can so that you can get some support. Thankfully, I was in a space where my spouse was paying the bills, but once I got my own paycheck, we were like, we're rich. We don't have to save every money or spend every dollar that we get. So save your money as much as you can. But anyways, back to studying for the test. I didn't pass the first time. So the second time, I'm like, all right, we're going to switch it up. Maybe I need to study in a different way. Maybe I need to do something differently. Started doing study groups, started doing all this other stuff. Took the exam, failed. Bruh. And I'm like, okay, what is going on right now? Like, I don't do bad. Like, I don't struggle in school. Like, the whole experience of becoming a dietitian academically, that was not an issue for me. So why was this an issue? So then I tried to calm down, and I took it really seriously. I think I took like 2 weeks off of studying, and then I went hardcore for 4 weeks. And in those 4 weeks, I dedicated, like, I ate and breathed and slept and like dreamt of that exam. I can hear that lady's voice in my head. If you know who I'm talking about, you know who I'm talking about. And then and only then is when I passed. I also did a lot of like affirmation work, visualizations, pumping myself on the drive to the testing center. I think I listened to Beyonce, which you know is huge for me because I don't really listen to her like that. And like, there was no other option. I was passing that test no matter what. And I did. Things that I did differently that time was really honing in on things that I was uncomfortable with or not so familiar with. And there was a Facebook group at the time that was really good at that as well, that did like live tutoring sessions. That was really helpful. But basically, I just became the thing that we have to study. And to celebrate, I went to Spain. I purposely put the test date like the week of my birthday. Then I had a birthday party. Then the next day after my birthday party, I left to Spain for a while. And when I came back, the world shut down. And shortly after that, I started my first job as a full-time dietitian. And that was 2 years ago. And now, look at me now. Look at me now. Hey, look at me now. I'm getting paper. Okay, maybe not that much paper, but I am. So yeah, it took a long time, a lot of steps for me to become a dietitian, to get to the space, the place where I'm at. But through it all, you know, I learned some really important things around trusting my gut. I learned the importance of being curious and the importance of never giving up. And those were some really huge lessons that I wish someone would have told me beforehand, along with the bonus tips of making sure I'm saving money and making sure I'm using my networks. And all it took was getting 2 bachelors, working, matching after 2 tries, and taking the exam 3 times. All of that just to become an RD. And while I say in those little sentences, it does sound so simple, I do want to take an opportunity to highlight what the current requirements are to become a dietitian and what the requirements are going to be in 2024. There's currently 3 options to become a dietitian. One is through a dietetic internship, which is what I did. Another is through a coordinated program, which is what some other folks can do. And another is through a graduate program. If you're going the dietetic internship route, you're going to have to make sure that you complete a bachelor's degree in nutrition or a degree that covers all of the DPD requirements. After you complete your DPD requirements, you also have to complete an ASCEND DI, the internship, which is a 1,200-hour supervised practice, and in most cases not paid. I know the hours might have changed due to COVID, so it could be less. And also programs have adapted to COVID in different ways. So definitely make sure that you check to see what the current updates are for the programs that you're looking to apply to, or the programs that you're in, or whatever the case may be. After you complete the internship, obviously you get a letter that's saying a verification statement saying that you did that, and then you can take your test and apply for jobs. You can apply for jobs as soon as you get that letter. And most jobs will give you 3 months to 6 months to pass the exam. To learn a little bit more about the other options, you can head to the website. I'll have it linked up in the description box below. Pretty much all it takes to become a dietitian. Bruh. Let me know if you found this video helpful. Let me know if you want to see more videos about my dietetic journey. I'm happy to create those videos. If you watched all the way through, thank you. Okay, you're a total fan, comadre or compadre. And I want to say leave a green heart emoji if you made it all the way through. This lets me know that you watched it and that you enjoyed it, and helps me make more videos for you all. And if you're new here, make sure that you subscribe. I would love to have you back here spending some time drinking some tea with me so that we can have other chats about my journey and my experience as a dietitian, or whatever other things come up. That's all for today. I'll see you in the next video. Love you. Bye.